Guys, and today I just wanted to come to you with another in my ongoing series of extensive Drupal 7 coverage. What I'm going to talk about today is the Drupal 7 theme system and the changes between that and Drupal 6. Now I've prepared a bunch of things that we're going to talk about, so let's just dive in. The first thing to know is that if you look here, if I just pop open the Drupal 7 theme guide, you'll see that there's just a bunch of issues, but there's no real cast iron documentation of what exactly is in the new theme system. But there's a lot of completely different stuff that's here, and you have to write your themes in almost a completely different way, although there is some legacy stuff that's left over. So this is basically just a bunch of issues, and it doesn't really say anything here. And you notice that the top issue is update theme guide for Drupal 7, so that's kind of the reason why I'm doing this tutorial, both because the people on the documentation team need help to get this really up to snuff before Drupal 7 is released into the wild. So I'm hoping that by telling some of you guys about this, and maybe something I've got to offer later, which I'll talk about at the end of the screencast, maybe I've got something which I've got to offer at the end of the screencast will help with this. So, if we just go back to the first tab I had sat here, I've just got a dummy Drupal installation, and it's at tom-rogers.com/Drupal-screencast/min, and it's basically this simple wireframe theme that is actually a Drupal 7 install. You'll notice that it says part of the theme, test website for an Ajax theme. That is because this theme was originally going to do a bunch for Ajax loading, but I can't get the JavaScript to work. And this is again another instance where the Drupal 7 documentation has fallen down because I can't find why my JavaScript's not working. This kind of because of the lack of good, at least native documentation, this changed into a few days worth of project. So before I start this, I should bring this up, and this is an article from pingv.com, and it has really an extensive library and breakdown of the changes in the Drupal theme system, talks about how they impact them, and later on it even goes to give code snippets of how things work, and we'll go through some of this as we go on. So I'll link to this in the underneath this video, because it's a great resource to check out, and the Drupal documentation writers should take a leaf out of this man's book. So this is what helped me to know what to write into my Drupal 7 themes. So, well, with that said, I think we should go back to our theme, and I'm just gonna fire up Coda. Okay, so now I've got Coda fired up, and we're drilled down to where we need to be for the code for the theme. So we're going to start with the info file, seeing as that is the most basic file we need to make a Drupal 7 theme, or make Drupal recognize that it's a a theme. Now, these were new in Drupal 6 and first started in Drupal 6, so they're pretty new and didn't have a bunch of legacy stuff to deal with, and didn't need much refinement. There are a few things that changed there, so let's go through that. First, we define our name and our description, same as in Drupal 7. We define our core, but obviously instead of 6.x, it's 7.x. We define our version, our engine, which again is PHP template, and this is where it gets right here, this block, where it gets interesting. First, we need to define our style sheet, which is our style.css file. Now, you didn't have to do this in Drupal 6. It would just auto detect the file called style.css in your theme folder, but now you just have to define where it is. So if that's a sticking point for you when you first create a Drupal theme, that's why it's not working for you there. So next we have a script folder. Like I said before, it would recognize scripts.js, but doesn't do that anymore in Drupal 7, so you have to define it. Now, just so you know, this was done because so that you can have a little bit more control over what your theme is. Another thing to know is that you can still have the same features declarations and the same regions declarations, or the default region naming convention is a little different, which we'll get onto just now really. So the next tab you see kind of sitting here in my page is html.tpl.php. Now you didn't have to do this previously because all the stuff just went in the page.tpl.php. And this is another thing that again there's no documentation for, so it could be a potential sticking point if you need that there. So all our head section and our header stuff now goes in our html.tpl.php. Now this pretty much default stuff, this wrapper stuff, and you should note that you close your things off in this file as well. This is the wrapper for how we do things. We'll come on to in a minute. There's the default version of this file, but I didn't use it because I wanted to use HTML5, so I needed to do this special doc type, and I just find it a little bit cleaner to define my own. So we print out the page top, which gives us some control that we need, and we also print out the page bottom, which clears things up. Now, what's this print page variable doing here? Well, that calls what has been around since I believe Drupal 4.7, which is the page.tpl.php file, which is called whenever you view a standard page on your Drupal install, and it sets up lots of good defaults. Before, all this stuff would be on the page.tpl.php file, but now the page.tpl.php file is being called by this print page value. So now I think it's time to look at that. One other thing to note is that this is very similar to the way WordPress does it, in that in WordPress you have a header.php file, and that starts it off, and then a footer.php file, and an index.php file, which is the meat of your page. Drupal is now going in that direction. So that's what that's all about. The next file in the hierarchy that I've already talked about is page.tpl.php file. So this gets chucked wherever we print the page variable. So we, if we go back here, printed it in the middle of the body tag. So we need to print everything that we need to print in here in the middle of our everything that all the structural stuff that we need. Say that we would need to do. So what would we want things to be wrapped in? Well, in this case, we want everything on our page to be wrapped in a div with an ID of wrapper. So that needs to be the top level thing on this page.tpl.php file now, because now it gets included in the html.tpl.php file, which this all stuck in. So now you only put your structural markup in the page.tpl.php file. So we're defining a wrapper. We're starting the header. This is just an HTML5 thing, and then we start transferring our Drupal variables. So we start first with the PHP print, and then we run the render function, and as a parameter we pass it page, and then a part of the array that we pass it is header. This is complicated, and you'll see it in throughout this file, throughout other Drupal theme files that we do. Now you can still print stuff out where you can hide it, but we're not hiding it. So that's what this render function is for. It's saying that we want to show it, and it's saying what's the part we want to show. Well, we want to show the page variable. That's what this is. And the page variable is an object in PHP. So and then this is standard PHP syntax for, well, what part of that object do you want to print out? So we're saying header because that's where the header region is in Drupal 7, and there's still a stock header region. So we're saying whatever we choose inside of Drupal, so we put in the header region, put it here. So this bit's the same as it would be in Drupal 6. We're just printing out a header and printing out the slogan. Now, some key things that go on here we'll create this nav element, and that's stands for navigation in Drupal in HTML5. Sorry. So we're checking, and you'll be able to see how simple it is. The other navigation syntax didn't work, and the one that's in Garland is actually grabbed from the template.php file, and it is defining a bunch of custom variables. So I couldn't grab it out of there. But where I grabbed it is, if you go on to api.drupal.org and you type in tpl.php file, and then you look at the Drupal 7 source, you'll see this bit of code which checks if there's the main menu, and then it prints the part of the theme variable. That is this links_system_main menu, and it's been from primary links to main menu, and then it ends the if. So this one line does a whole bunch of cool stuff. It tells us we need to print out a main menu, but then what do we need to pass it? So we need to pass it an array of the main menu links, and this variable is what is actually stored in the links. So this is kind of magical thing that themers like me don't really understand, but this just gives us a bunch of clean menu output, and I've cleaned this up because even though we got it in from the stock Drupal 7 file, this was like 5 lines of code, and I shut it down to 3. This bit that actually outputs the menu. I got rid of a whole bunch of attributes, so this is the really simple version. If you want to spit out a menu in Drupal 7, that's the way you do it. So because that's all we need for our nav, we end our nav, then we start a section which is another HTML5 term called main stuff. We print our title just like we would in Drupal 6. We print out our help region, because now instead of printing out instead of saying PHP print and then the help variable, we say print render page help, because this is actually a region now in Drupal 6, so we have to do that kind of array thing that we did to print out the header up here. And we're just going to print out our messages. That's the same in Drupal 6. And then we need to print out this content region, the same syntax. You really have to understand this syntax of calling different bits of objects to do Drupal 7 theming, because that's what the source centers around. And there was nothing about this in the documentation. It was thanks to that article I showed you that I learned all about this. So definitely kudos to that, and I'll definitely be linking to it in the description. So then we print out our footer. So we told jQuery or Drupal 7, where all these regions are. What are we looking at next? Well, we have to think about what's the next thing in our hierarchy. So once we know what an individual page is going to look like, we have to know what an individual region is going to look like, and that's with this new region.tpl.php file. All this does is renders the content object, because I'm not doing anything fancy with any of those regions, but this allows you to get more granular control over what you do. And then we have the node.tpl.php file, which basically a strip down of the Garland version. We have these new things called like render the content. Again, like I said, you really have to understand this render function, and we can print out content attributes, a whole bunch of stuff. This is a really stripped down version from the default Vim. I think what would be a good, now that we've seen all the files that make it up, I think what would be a good idea for us to look back at this, because it has a really, really hierarchical thing of what you do. So this part, the HTML.php part, like I just went over, is the wrapper for your whole page. So it has your doc type, like I went over, your page.tpl.php file, which contains all your wrapping stuff, your region template for all your different regions. So that's sidebar, header, the new help region, like I was talking about, the content region, a whole bunch of stuff, and any other ones that you've defined. Like I said, all I've got it doing is printing out the content. We've then got the node.tpl.php file, like I just showed you, for just displaying individual nodes. We've got the comments TPL files, and we've got block TPL files. Important thing to note is that the box.tpl.php file that no one ever used has been removed in Drupal 6, because you might well just use the block.tpl.php. So, that's pretty much the end of what I want to talk about.
It's 15:30.
Again, I'll be sure to link to all of this in the sidebar. I mean, sorry it was a long-winded kind of process in explaining this, but I just felt there needed to be a cast iron resource that people could go to get more on 777 theming, and I hope this was what that was. All these theme files I'm actually gonna put on a project page on Drupal.org, which when I've uploaded it and sorted all that stuff out, I'll be sure to link to in the sidebar, so that people can go and download the theme for themselves and get a really stripped down Drupal theme with some good documentation to really get a sense of what each file is. And I really hope the Drupal guys look up the documentation a bit. So thanks for watching this video, guys. I really hope you got something out of it. I know it was a bit long-winded, but I hope you enjoyed it. If you've liked it, please subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at TomRogers12. That's twitter.com/TomRogers12. You can visit my blog at technobuffalo.com/futuretech and subscribe if you've liked it. Thank you.